Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Racing Bros NASCAR podcast, episode 21. So, we got some pretty big news that we're going to get into. That's going to be our opening segment, and then we're going to get on to some Pocono recaps, and we're going to preview Road America. So, starting off the show a little different. We usually talk about the news after we recap the previous weekend's races, but this one was pretty big that we learned today. So if you guys didn't hear, Chip Ganassi Racing is selling to Trackhouse. So Trackhouse will buy everything Chip Ganassi has. So they're pulling out a NASCAR. They have the two charters that Chip Ganassi has and his whole building, his people, stuff like that. One confirmed driver already for Trackhouse will be Daniel Suarez in the 99, and they will take one charter and make that a charter team. So Trackhouse will have two chartered teams next year. Daniel Suarez will drive the one chartered car, the 99, and then we'll see about the second driver. So getting into that, just wow, like that's crazy. But I'm with my co-host Brian. Brian, how are you doing today?
I'm good, especially after that big news.
Yeah. So this episode, this is gonna be the biggest part of the episode, talking about this, because
Oh, for sure.
So it's been a couple hours since the kind of reactionary press conference, and it's been crazy. So they announced today that they bought, Chip Ganassi. So Chip Ganassi is out of NASCAR. He's not gonna, get out of his IMSA or IndyCar. He's basically saying that Justin Marks made him a deal he couldn't refuse, and he's getting up there. It's time for some fresh blood. He's been in the sport for 20 years. Kind of, maybe wants to put his focus more on IMSA and IndyCar stuff. So it's going to be weird not seeing, the 42 car, the other 40s that he had, the Silver Bullet, the Target Chevys, the number one monster car has been kind of iconic now. Just it's going to be weird seeing no Chip Ganassi racing next year, especially with, Cup Series becoming more desirable. New car, new era. Just looks like it's the right time for him to sell. So, getting into all that, it's just, I think he had it coming, though. I don't know this for sure, but I think him and Kurt Busch might have had a conversation beforehand. Like, Kurt told him basically that he was leaving Ganassi. I don't think he knows like which team or like even this was going down, but I think Kurt told Ganassi basically that I'm going to be leaving and taking Monster with him, because he's lost. With Monster leaving, he would have lost 3 major sponsors in the last 5 years. Like, Target left after 2017, and then Credit One Bank left after the whole Larson ordeal, and then now with Monster leaving, I think it was kind of, time. I don't know if that happened for sure, but I think they had a conversation about it, and then he's knowing that Justin Marks would want to buy the charter, so I think it was just the right time to sell, if that was the case. I don't know for sure that's what happened, or Justin Marks is like, I'm just going to give you X amount of money for your team, But I think that's something that had to do with it.
It was definitely a big win for Trackhouse and Justin Marks. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
They were talking about making a second charter anyway, and then you go and throw in the equipment that Chip Ganassi had, and it's just like, that's pretty much all you needed right there. So not only does that sound like a big win, but you also have to think that now Trackhouse either has the rights to Ross Chastain next year, or
Mm-hmm.
possibly Kurt Busch, unless Kurt Busch wants to go to 2311.
Right. So,
So,
I mean, if Kurt stays with Trackhouse or Ganassi, well, now it's Trackhouse. We can't say Ganassi. So if he just stays, like he's in the same building, but then Trackhouse takes over. So then, he has the monster money coming in, and then Daniel Suarez, will have the other sponsors. So they won't have any problems with sponsorship, I don't think, with the second car. Because I don't know, like, if Ganassi's partners are going to, because he still has Clover, and then McDonald's, and, like, Chevy accessories and stuff like that. Like, kind of, those kind of sponsors. So I don't know if they sign on to, like, the second car. I don't know where Kurt's, like, does Kurt now kind of stay with the new ownership, or does he kind of move forward, Because right
I'm
now,
sure there was something already in the works, though, if you think about it.
I mean, I
So,
think Ganassi, I think he was, like, told Ganassi already that he's heading out to either Trackhouse or 2311.
right.
But now
And
that,
this kind of made the push easier for him, I'm guessing.
yeah, because Ganassi has no major sponsorship because McDonald's not a full-time sponsor and Clover's not a
Right.
full-time sponsor. It's just the one monster car, he had it like 25 plus liveries for Monster. I mean, Gear Wrench would be there a couple times, but, Monster would be the main sponsor. And then 2 years ago, he lost, well, 2020 after Larson, he lost Credit One Bank and they never came back to sponsor this year. So he lost that one. And then also at the end of 2017, he had Target sponsorship. And they're sponsored by Target for like 10, 15 years. And Target pulled out of NASCAR. So he lost 3 major sponsorship within a 5-year period, essentially. So that'd be like Rick Hendrick losing Exalta, Ally, and then I don't know, something else. I can't even think of it. And Napa in like a 5-year period. Like that would be kind of insane, And
I mean, that's the biggest blow you can take, too.
yeah,
That's the worst part.
with the sponsorship. So, and
Right.
it's not like Ganassi's like a big name in NASCAR. Like he's a big name in motorsports. In NASCAR, they might not have had the greatest success. Excuse me, sorry, burped. But they might not have the greatest success in NASCAR. But he was a pretty solid team. I'd say he was like second or third Chevy team. Because now, where does this put Trackhouse? Like, because we know Hendrick's obviously on top, but then is it Hendrick Trackhouse RCR, or now is it Hendrick RCR Trackhouse? Where's Trackhouse lined up in the Chevy like family? Are they the second Chevy team? They had a alliance with RCR, but then like, what if they're a better team than RCR? Then why would they, continue the alliance? Do they like get an alliance with Hendrick, or how? It's all crazy like how this is gonna work.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it all comes down to which driver they get. Because I'm not saying that, one of the drivers is bad, one of the drivers is good. But
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Ross is the up and coming, but if you're looking for a better driver now, it's Kurt Busch.
If I was Trackhouse, I would do everything in my power to keep Kurt
Yeah, I would too.
as a
Because I mean, he's the better driver right now.
yeah as like an owner. Oh, Kurt Busch is getting unlimited check, especially if
Right.
with Monster, like continuing giving them money, so you don't have to worry about sponsorship at all. If you have any
Right.
unsold races towards like with the 99 Suarez, then you could just maybe he has the McDonald's because they already have the Coca-Cola sponsorship, so just slap a McDonald's logo on it, or then put the Clover logo for a couple races, and then Suarez is completely filled.
Right.
Or even, maybe Kurt, like the Monsters, like, oh, I'm only going to do 32 races or something. Then, slap the McDonald's or Clover logos on it, or the Chevy accessories.
Yeah, and it's not like Suarez is a joke either, because I mean he's proved this year he can get you at least decent finishes at the very least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
He may not win every race, I mean obviously, but he's got a good car. He's a pretty good driver, and I mean maybe we'll see something different with the new car.
yeah. This makes him a playoff contender.
Right.
This makes Trackhouse now a playoff contender, and it kind of makes 2311 a little uneasy. I'm sure Denny Hamlin didn't love this news.
Right.
I'm sure he's still very confident in his team. I'm not saying he's like, oh, we have no chance now. But I think this does make him a little uneasy that a new team is now, upgraded their equipment, you'd say. Like now they're essentially CGR.
Right.
So does Denny make Kurt a huge offer? Like, please come here and help our team?
But will Trackhouse be able to combat that offer? That's another thing.
It's up to like Kurt really, because I'm sure they'll keep some CGR employees. I don't think they'll keep all of them, and then there's going to be a lot of them that are cut anyhow because they don't build the cars.
Right.
So, does Kurt want to stay in house, and does he think that Trackhouse has like more of a higher ceiling than he had with Ganassi? Like, I think you would, with all that like funding and vision, but then like would he stay in like the building he's been used to for the last 3 seasons, or does he think that he could be maybe the Toyota equipment's better than the Chevy, even though the Chevy, like we've seen with Hendrick, has upgraded equipment. But then also that wouldn't really matter because next year we're having a whole new car that basically sets the baseline.
Right, it's a fresh start in terms of car, but do you want to take that fresh start in terms of team and then go to a completely different manufacturer? Or do you want to stay with the same manufacturer, go with a team that's mostly familiar to you, and have somewhat of a restart? It's just like, I don't know. It's a big thing on Kurt's shoulders that hopefully he doesn't overthink.
Yeah, it's a huge, because, Kurt's already got his place in history. He's a Hall of Fame race car driver.
Right.
It's just, where does he want to end his career in? Because this is essentially probably going to be his last contract.
And I feel like even if it is his last contract, the best place for him would be Trackhouse. We just go with something familiar.
Yeah,
get a little bit more of an edge.
Yeah, if you're Kurt Busch, you stay with Trackhouse.
100%. I have nothing against the 2311 team, but from what I saw this past year, they haven't really showed anything too promising for the future.
They are like running Levine family racing equipment.
Yeah.
So they're running LFR equipment because, they get cars from Joe Gibbs, but look at this as a business. Like, why would Joe Gibbs make a whole new car for 1 year for a new team, and the next year, like, that's just wasting money. I'm sure Joe Gibbs loves fucking Denny Hamlin, but he's not, making brand new fucking race cars for him. He's like, oh, Denny, you great job. I'm just gonna waste money on you guys. Joe Gibbs like running a successful NASCAR operation. Like, he's not looking to help out Denny. Like, he will help him out, but he's not like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna give you, I don't know, fucking $50 million worth of race cars that you could just smash up this year. There you go, Denny. Good job, man. But I think if I'm Kurt Busch, I don't know. I couldn't make a decision right now. I think the gut would say maybe I'd stay with Chevy. But then, like, I don't know what he wants to do with the rest of his career. Maybe he wants to say, yeah, I drove for Michael Jordan. Or maybe he wants to work with his brother because essentially they would be teammates because they would be in the same manufactured family. So I don't know what he wants to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a good point. And
So
just because the Chevy is strong this year, like you said, doesn't mean they're going to be strong next year.
yeah, because it totally the whole game resets like after this year,
Right.
and
It's
then
a whole new car.
I also found something also interesting.
Okay.
So Justin Marks said he bidded on 4 charters and lost them all, so that's why he to start talking to Chip about buying his team. So he bid on 4 charters, and we already know Kaulig has 2. So he lost out on those 2 charters. So who was he bidding against for the 2 charters, and whose 2 charters was he bidding for?
Hmm.
Like,
That's interesting.
yeah, like, because we know Kaulig has the 2, and he said he was bidding. Like, we gotta assume he was bidding on those. So let's say, let's knock them out, because we know Kaulig has 2 charters. So then what team was he going? Because I don't think he went up, to Chip, because Chip said basically, like, he wasn't looking to sell the team. It just Marks came up with the offer. So was he thinking, like, was he going to Chip? But then that wouldn't make sense if he was like, oh, well, I lost the bid, so then I bought the team. Like, that doesn't make sense.
Right. That wouldn't make sense.
So, like, what chart? We got to assume.
Maybe he went to JTG.
Well, JTG only has the 1 charter because the 37 is an open team. So they only have the chartered 47. So then why wouldn't JTG just fold if they wouldn't have no charters?
Yeah.
So you gotta think, like, what do we like Rick Ware? Like, they were having a bidding war with Rick, like, against someone with Rick Ware charters, because he said he lost.
Or Roush.
That's also. I mean, they could have bought another, because we don't know about that. We don't know if they're like, oh yeah, we're opening a 3rd team.
Right.
Because also we have GMS coming up in the Cup Series, and we know they have at least 1 car, but they haven't said if they're chartered or not. So, like, where was he bidding for the charters, and who was he bidding against,
I want to know if, like, next season comes up, if he just releases, he's like, oh yeah, I went to go and try and buy this team, and it didn't work out, so I just went, and I was like, okay, Chip Ganassi, let's see what he says. And then it was like, boom, it just worked out.
Well, they do have history together. They did, Justin Marks has raced for Ganassi. So it's not like something totally out the blue, but it's like...
Right.
Still very weird. It's not like...
Yeah, I mean, it was... When you say, oh, we have big news to announce tomorrow at 2 o'clock, you don't think, oh, yeah,
I thought they were
he
talking...
just bought a team.
I thought they were talking about a sponsor. I'm like, oh, they got a
Right.
6-race sponsor. That's cool. Or
Yeah.
like, oh, we acquired, a charter for Suarez. Or something like that. Like, I'm like, okay, I didn't think... Like, literally, I read the headline, and I had to stare at it, because I looked at Reddit, like, actually at 2 o'clock. I was just kind of scrolling, and Jenna Fryer posted something, and it got posted to Reddit, and it was like, Ganassi bought out by Trackhouse, and I, like, read the title for, like, 15 seconds, just staring at it, like, what?
It was unbelievable. When you sent me that, I was just... I didn't know what to think.
Yeah, literally.
I'm like, oh, that's pretty big.
Yeah, like, I looked at Twitter because I had to look for the Stern bombs. If you guys know, on Twitter, this dude named Adam Stern, he tweets out, NASCAR news and rumors. He's the one tweeted about how, with Brad, it's a done deal. Very think of him as an Adrian Wojnarowski as, like, NBA. But yeah, he tweeted out, like, Trackhouse is now announcing they have bought Chip Ganassi. I'm like, wait a minute, what? Now Adam Stern is saying it, and I sent it to Brian. I'm like, oh my god. Like, this is some huge news. Like, this is... Because now it just... Silly season now just involves Kurt Busch. Like, Kurt Busch is...
Well, also Ross Chastain, because we don't know where he's going to go.
Well, it depends on Kurt. Because I think Trackhouse is like, we're going to do everything to keep Kurt. And if Kurt leaves, then we're just going to be like, oh, Ross, you could drive for us, bud.
But then if Kurt stays, who picks up Ross? Or does anybody even pick up Ross?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. I can't tell you, but it depends on what Kurt Busch does. Like, if he goes to 23-11, then they're going to be like, okay, Ross, you can drive. I don't think Ross is the first option at all in this. I mean,
then what happens with all of the expiring contracts and the rookies that might come up from next year?
Yeah, then with the new teams, like, we don't know if we're going to even have more. Like, we might have more teams, you know?
Right. We might go back to 40 cars.
It's just like, it's just a silly season kicked off in a big way. Well, I mean, it kicked off really with Keselowski and Roush, but now it's Kurt Busch is at the center of silly season, and everyone's going to be wondering what he does. Because what he does has a huge domino effect on, like, what Ross Chastain does now. And then we thought, if Keselowski was going to the 6 or whatever, or, like, renumbering it or whatever, the Newman's out of ride, and we're like, oh, well, maybe the 1, you know, could become open if Kurt's available now, but now it's not.
Yeah.
So, like, does Newman do? Like, does Newman retire? Because he's not dropping out of Xfinity. That's not an option.
Right.
I don't think Newman wants to do that, but it's a huge domino effect because we got to see what Kurt Busch does.
And then who was going into the 21?
Well, now that the 2's open, it's probably going to be Cindric that goes to the 2, and then they're probably going to keep the Benedetto in the 21.
Weird.
But then what if, you know, Roger's like, well, we're going to keep to the plan. Austin Cindric's going to go to the 21, and then he goes to the 2, like Austin Cindric goes to the 2, and then they just kick Matty D out the 21. I mean, he can also do that. I don't know what's going to happen, you know.
Do they just shut down the 21 at that point?
There's no way.
Yeah, so if they take out Di Benedetto, you just going to leave the 21 open for another rookie, or do you maybe pick up one of those veterans that are just going to be flying out there?
I don't know. It's a lot of...
So now it just brings in more questions for the off season, and it just makes it literally makes silly season a thing again.
Silly season is definitely silly right now. So
yeah, for sure.
This changes the whole game. I'm glad the Trackhouse is expanding, but I'm also sad to see Ganassi go. As I said before to Brian, since I've been watching this full time since 2005, Ganassi has been in the Cup Series. Maybe not all the best results, but you know he's been there. He's got they won Daytona 500, Brickyard 400, awesome big wins. Started a career of some other drivers, and it's just like it's weird to see, you know, that he's gonna disappear. But I'm glad that we got, you know, a new team owner, maybe another legacy team coming up.
Yeah. This is going to be a very, very interesting offseason.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting couple months with all the speculation of where Kurt Busch goes, I'm going to say Kurt Busch is going to be a real busy man in the media for the next...
That's for sure.
Probably month. So, yeah, that was the news, if you guys didn't know. Yeah, so enjoy, I guess, the rest of CGR the rest of the year. Hopefully, I want them to get one more win. Just one like final win. It doesn't even, like, they don't even have to be in the playoffs. Like, someone win, you know, send off, you know, they get the final team win, and it's all nice and happy, you know. But yeah, that is the news, the big news items that we had to talk about. Well, that wasn't the biggest news we have to talk about. We have to talk about Todd Gordon retired. I'm kidding. No, yeah, Todd. Also news. Might as well do the news segment. Not as big as news. Well, we thought it was pretty big until literally a couple hours ago. Todd Gordon is going to retire at the end of the year. He is the crew chief for Blaney currently. He's won a championship with Logano. He's been with Penske the last decade about. So, yeah, Todd Gordon is now going to retire. He's going to be off the pit box. He might be with Penske, or, he might actually go with Roush with Brad. We don't know. Again, anything can happen after this news. So, I guess we'll see what happens on that. But, yeah, Todd Gordon's we're going to retire at the end of the year off the pit box. So, yeah, that's all probably the news you guys should know. Yeah, we had to start out the show with that. So now we're going to get on to the Pocono recaps. So we had 2 races this week. We had the first one where we had, both of them were crazy finishes.
Right.
Well, we were originally going to do this different. We're going to kind of separate the both races and talk about them like in depth individually. But, since we already talked about the Chip Ganassi news, we're just going to kind of summarize the race, what kind of happened, was there strategy, last 20 laps and stuff like that, kind of, quick summary. So, Pocono won. This weekend in general was a good weekend for Pocono racing. I was pretty impressed. It was probably one of the best Pocono races I've seen in a while, especially with this package. There's passing. The 550 horsepower. I know this is going to be unbelievable for me saying it. The 550 horsepower package works with this track, with the drafting, with the PJ1. It actually works for Pocono. I'm not saying it works for every track, not even close, but with Pocono,
it makes for good racing at Pocono specifically.
Yes. Like, with, the different lines that you could choose, and the, Pocono's a momentum track, so you need all that momentum, and then it helps with the draft and stuff. So it does help out Pocono. This was one of the better Pocono races I can remember. Pocono won, which was a Saturday race. Pretty normal Pocono race. Brad Keselowski accidentally got into Cole Custer. It looked like Cole Custer was trying to fill a hole, and he just kind of got in the back of him, misjudged, crashed Cole. And then Anthony Alfredo and Corey LaJoie got together, stuff like that. Just a normal Pocono race. Wasn't really like that strategy filled, as you saw with the one on Sunday. But it wasn't really that strategy filled, kind of just, try to get track position and stuff. And then we had a restart with under 20 to go. And we had Alex Bowman on the inside, just kind of, no one was choosing the inside because it's kind of like, oh, you're going to fall back. But he got a huge push from Blaney and then got in front of Kyle Larson. And actually held off Kyle Larson a while. He only had the 2 tires, and Larson had the 4 tires. It probably was the best car all day. So they were fighting epic battle for like 15 laps, on edge of your seat, watching it. I had to rewatch it again because I'm like, wow, I had to rewatch the battle. It was a really fun battle. And then 3 to go, Larson eventually gets around Bowman, and we're like, oh, that's not a Bowman, And then the final corner happens, and Larson blows a left front, hits the wall, and then Bowman gets past him and wins the race. One of the most insane finishes, because I'm like, as a Bowman fan, like, I'm so happy, I'm like, woo, my guy won. But then, like, as I pick these races on this podcast, like, how? Like, literally, only I can pick the driver that's won 4 in a row. Well, 3 in a row, points paying, 4 in a row, technically races, but 3 in a row, points paying races. Only I'm like, oh, he's good, let me pick him. And then I pick him, and he blows a left front. Like, that would only happen to me and it
Yeah.
did. So that's what I thought from Pocono 1. It just, but yeah, it's never over till it's over. Alex Bowman stole that one. It's pretty good racing. Not really strategy filled because then Sunday was, totally flip flop.
Saturday went from being the day of let's test something out to Sunday being we tested this out. Here's what we got.
Yeah, Sunday was intense. So, there's like a couple cars had to go to the back. I think Newman and LaJoy had to go back for his backup car, and then Larson had to go to the back because he had a backup car as well. So we would have Kyle Larson starting in the back, and then we had different strategies going out through Pocono too. Just some cars pitted before stage 1, and stage 1, some cars stayed out like longer, like Keselowski and stuff. And yeah, if you want to, jump in, you can with any insight you want with Pocono.
So, Pocono 2, there was actually. I ended up picking Larson for Pocono 2. Just a little recap for that.
Yeah, I picked Ross.
Beginning of the race. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Beginning of the race.
Oh my god.
He had nose damage.
Oh my god. You know what I just realized? Sorry, I cut you
What's
off.
up? You're good.
I just killed Chip Ganassi because I picked Ross to win Pocono.
You just had to go and pick Ross Chastain and Pocono 2.
Okay, so literally this weekend I killed Kyle Larson's win streak because he literally gets a flat at the last turn, and then I killed Chip Ganassi Racing. So I guess I'm the curse.
Yeah.
If I pick you, you're cursed the rest of the year. So Joey Logano.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, only if it's Joey Logano, I'll let you pick multiple times. So yeah, Pocono 2 was it was a lot of strategy. A lot happened. We had everything from Bowman having vibration in the car with a wheel loose to Larson having nose damage from, I think it was a little tap, and it was also a car used in a previous race. So he claims that didn't help. Eventually going on to do something else, but we'll get to that. Stage 1 winner, we had Truex.
Yep.
Stage 2 was a lot of Kyle Busch with a messed up, or I guess his car was stuck in 4th gear that entire stage to the end of the race.
Yeah, he couldn't get out of the 4th gear. It was just stuck. So at like any restart or pit stop, he would have to guess pretty much what speed he was going down pit road.
Right.
And then when he would go off, he needed a push because he would just be in 4th and he'd be rolling really slow. But that might have came to help him, at the end of the race.
Yeah, I mean, I thought with what they were saying, with what the broadcasters were saying, it sounded like at first he couldn't get his car into 4th gear.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to put like a band around. It was a bungee cord. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
He had to put the bungee cord around his shifter to make sure it stayed in 4th gear, and then after he did that, it got stuck in 4th gear.
Yeah.
So
he said on the radio, like after he was singing,
yeah, fly like an eagle.
He said that he had to pull it really hard back to 4th gear to like have it hold. He must have just pulled it too hard back and too far back, and then it just got stuck in there. But yeah, it just crazy how then that turned out. And then at the stage, we all got different strategies. So then we got Keselowski on a different strategy, and some people pitting early, some people pitting at the stage end, some people pitting, after the stage was over, and then we were like 10 laps into the final stage. Then we had, I think wasn't it Byron leading? I think like the last 5 laps, it was Byron leading. Then he had to pit with a couple to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then Denny was first, and then Kyle was second. And then Denny ran out of gas coming to the white. So then there was just Kyle Busch, his classic It was a classic Pocono finish. If you guys watch Pocono, people trying to save fuel, so, stretching it. People running out, you don't have to pit. It was a classic kind of Pocono race that I guess I missed.
Yeah, so funny enough, you actually, by us changing the rules, or well, I mean, by us having to pick different people,
Hmm.
you kind of saved me on Pocono 2 because I ended up picking Larson for Pocono 2, and he got a P2 finish because of everybody else's misfortune.
Hmm.
So, um, then something that I did want to bring up was with one of I don't remember exactly which broadcaster it was, but somebody from the NBC crew brought up when Kyle Busch made it back to pit lane and we saw his crew chief jump into the car. Um, they said that they were probably trying to cut his gear loose so he could shift again.
Yeah, they're trying to.
Um,
It was a crew guy, and
yeah,
he was trying to. He had a pry bar or a crowbar, and he was trying to hit it out of fourth gear.
yeah, and then from what they said, they expected when he came back to pit lane that the shifter boot was being cut.
Hmm.
So, in case nobody knows what that means, I ended up having to figure out myself. The shifter boot is what keeps the fire from under the car in case there is a fire
Hmm.
from coming up into the cockpit of the car itself.
Yeah.
So
Safe.
it's mainly a safety precaution,
Yep.
and so I mean that of course NASCAR wants to make sure that every driver is as safe as possible, which good on them for doing that. And funny enough, I mean, even with that, Kyle Busch was still able to come out and win that race.
Yeah.
And honestly, he deserved that win.
Yeah. He had one of the fastest cars all weekend. Him, Larson. Bowman wasn't the fastest car, so he kind of got lucky on Saturday, but we'll take it. But yeah,
Right.
both Kyles had like the fastest car. Um, yeah, so the reason he also probably won was so if he was gonna restart wherever he's gonna restart, but since he's in fourth gear, he can't get up and going for the restart. He would have got past. So his team and with the shifter boot, they had to like reseal the shifter boot or put a new one on because NASCAR requires you to have it. And plus they topped off with fuel, that extra lap.
Right.
So he got to, top off with fuel and basically, I'm not saying that's the only reason he won, but pretty much win off that strategy because he had to come an extra lap past because their team's like, track position, we might as well get up to full speed because we're going to be slow as dick anyway. So might as well put some extra gas so, we can make it. So that extra lap of gas was one of the reasons Kyle Busch won this race.
Yeah.
It just takes one drop of fuel.
And if it wasn't him or Larson at least saving enough, it probably would have been one of the guys in the back, which would have been, I believe, one was Brad, and we had Kevin Harvick there.
Yeah, Brad, Harvick, Bubba. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Bubba. First top
Very, very good finish.
first top 5, top 10 for 2311. So that's always good. Michael Jordan was in the stands. Good to see. That team get their first top 5. He ran pretty good on Saturday. Had a top 15 finish. So It wasn't just purely luck. I mean, he did have the speed to boot, but, good finish for them.
And good strategy in the second race.
Yes. So, good weekend for Pocono. So I think last week we kind of implemented our impromptu, good, great race, points.
Mm-hmm.
So we said great was basically 100 to 80, I think we said.
Mm-hmm.
And then 79 to, 65 or 60 was good.
I think it was 65, yeah.
And then 60 to 50 was average, and then, that's below average. I don't know if that was the exact word. We probably should have wrote down, but hey, look at us. I would rate Pocono a great race. So I'm going to say the Pocono weekend, the whole weekend put together, I think it was an 80. So that would classify it as a great race. That was a great race for, regular race standards and Pocono standards. That was definitely fun. We got totally different races. I also do like how long the races were. With 2.5 hour races, boom, watch it real quick. All right, cool, good race, and then you can do stuff with your day. I do like that kind of time frame, like the 2.5 hours. I think that's perfect, especially with the Poconos. I don't know much about the double header, and also the ratings was kind of real bad for the Pocono doubleheader. So I don't know if they're going to keep on doing this, but if we had the one Pocono race, maybe with this length, maybe that would be fine, with the Poconos. But we'll see. It was pretty great weekend, great Pocono weekend. So yeah, I'll take it. I mean, I don't mind the two races, so I'll take it.
I 100% agree with your rating at an 80. I think that was a great weekend for what it was. I was going off of like if we were gonna do separate races and Pocono 1 would be 75, Pocono 2 would be an 85, because I think altogether that was just like, I mean, who could have asked for a better finish to both races?
Mm-hmm.
You had a fuel mileage race with the second race. The first race was just an unfortunate pop tire that came from over pushing the car, possibly hitting the apron too much or taking it too hard into a turn, overheating the tire, boom, it pops. But it was really, really fun to not just watch one person dominate the entire weekend.
Yeah, that was good. See parody and stuff. But yeah, it was a good weekend. I can't believe. It's really weird. How much I talk crap about the 550 package and I don't like it. I think it's some of our highest rated races, to be honest.
I think it's among our top four highest races right now.
I mean, I have to look back at all the statistics and stuff, but
I know Homestead's up there.
Vegas.
Yeah, and I think we had Darlington up there.
Darlington,
Nashville, maybe.
They were 750, but I think 550. A lot of these races it doesn't work, but Pocono, I think it really does help.
Yeah,
with, like the draft and stuff like that. So good weekend from the Poconos. So now we go on to Road America. Cup Series has not been here since 1956. I put on my Mike Joy hat for that stat. Xfinity's been here. They've been all good races. So another road course should be looks like a lot of passing zones. Should be fun. There's different elevation changes and stuff like that. Road America's been on the Nascar schedule for a bit now, just not in the Cup, but I expect Cup to put on good show. Maybe they can have the different, like how they do the road course style broadcast with NBC. Maybe we'll have like Burton in the hairpin or like one of the turns and then Dale Jr. over there, kind of radio style broadcast. Maybe they'll pull that out and do that, but we'll see about that. But yeah, Road America should be a fun road course. It's on July 4th. How American is that? We're in Wisconsin for America's B-Day. Anyways, for America's B-Day, I'm going to take a man who's raced here before, a man who's won here before, a man who drives for Roger Penske, and the number 33 Ford Mustang, Austin Cindric, Xfinity Series regular. I'm taking for the win. Our first Xfinity Series regular that I'm going to pick for a dark horse. I mean, I guess that is a dark horse pick. Chris Buescher, because he's usually pretty good at road courses. He's raced at Road America before. They're going to have the practice and qualifying, so we don't, Bob doesn't have to get his calculators out and do the formula. Good job. So, yeah, I'm going to take Austin Cindric for my pick, and then Chris Buescher as a dark horse.
Be solid. I went a different route completely. I initially wanted to go Chase Elliott. Um, I feel like that's the obvious road course pick.
This is Kyle Larson, sir.
I mean, give or take, yeah.
The GOAT. Kyle Larson. I'm
Um,
kidding.
I also thought about Kyle Larson, but I'm like, I don't want to use his third pick for me so quick. So I actually went with one of the previous winners. Literally just won this last race. I
Joey
went Kyle
Logano.
Busch. No, I went Kyle Busch. He's been pretty. I mean, he's been running pretty decent all year, except we had a run in or two where he said that his car was absolute trash
Well,
and
yeah.
that he never wants to drive it again.
Well, that's Kyle. That's Kyle Busch describing, anything.
Right,
If
right.
if he like, usually his car is trash, and then
Yeah.
I mean, he'll be running fifth, and that's trash to him. So, but then this weekend he was like saying how happy he was. They're like, whoa,
He
wait
was
a minute.
literally singing on the radio.
Like, when's the last time Kyle Busch? Like, what was his crew thinking? Like, they're like, Kyle smoked some weed. It's like, is that going on right now?
Yeah, so my winner I'm saying is Rowdy. Then my dark horse, I went with Allmendinger.
Oh, so see, we both had the same mindset.
Yeah.
I picked 17 for a dark horse. You picked 18 as a main pick. I picked Xfinity regular as a main pick. You picked 16 as a dark horse.
Yeah.
Well, then,
And I mean, Allmendinger was pretty solid at the two road courses that he was a part of this year. So
I can't wait till Austin Cindric is in like the last turn, and then I blow a tire.
no, he's going to be in the last turn, and AJ Allmendinger is just going to come barreling across the track and just boom, he's going to hit him.
No, no, they're gonna like misplace his car, and then he's gonna DQ. Oh, dang it! Allmendinger will be 16. I picked Buescher for my dark horse, so that'd be 17. Kyle Busch is 18. I should have picked Truex, but no one wants that scrub.
Fair enough.
No, I'm just kidding. Truex is not a scrub at all.
Hey, I mean, he still has the third most wins of the season, so.
Yeah, well, I guess in playoff positioning, he's technically second because he's tied with Bowman.
Yeah, that's true. So he's tied for second.
Yeah, second most wins. What a scrub. Can't even get another win. Then Bowman who drives for Tommy Bolton. No, I'm kidding. That was old Bowman, but talking about old Bowman, we're going to do a showman and see you and eat some Uncrustables. That was really corny. I probably should have cut that out, but we're going to leave it in. So you guys had to see that cringe fest that I'm going to think about the next week and be like, why did I say that? Anyways, thank you guys for listening to another podcast, or if you're watching on YouTube, hello. Social media plugs, we're going to have to do this. Racing Bros Pod C1 is our Twitter username if you want to look up that, or just look up Racing Bros NASCAR Podcast. We'll pop up. We got a white logo with a nice NASCAR and then a microphone that yours truly beautifully made. So if you guys see that, that's us. Hit us a follow or hit us up on Instagram, Racing Bros Pod. Racing Bros Podcast. Yes, Racing Bros Podcast. Hit us up there. We can just post some photos of some nice NASCARs. So if you guys want to see that in your feed or interact with us, just look on there. Or, our personal ones are in there if you want to get personal with us and send us a nice juicy DM about how, Kyle Busch means so much to you. Anyways, guys, thank you for listening. We appreciate all the listeners. We're growing and growing each month. We're seeing more and more downloads and stuff like that. So we really do appreciate, because when we first started this, we only thought we'd do like 3 episodes because we were bored in Corona times. But now this is the end of 21. like episode 21, and there's gonna be an episode next week, unless Brian dies. Hopefully, that doesn't happen. If I die, Brian better keep the show going, because if not, I'm gonna haunt him.
I'll try my best.
Anyways, guys, we really do appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts.
100%.
It's kind of crazy. It's like, well, why do people listen to this? Like, for some like groundbreaking reporters. No, I just took some notes on a notepad. I'm like, they took the lead, and then he took the lead, and then he ran out of gas, so he lost. And then that's our recaps. Anyways, guys, we're gonna get out of here because Brian has to cut down some trees. I don't know what he's doing, but we'll see y'all next week after Road America, and hope you guys have a good July 4th. And Brian, I'll talk to you. Thank you for joining me on another episode.
Thanks for having me as always.
All right, see y'all. Good luck to all the drivers that we picked except Brian's drivers, because he sucks.